Hello, you brilliant fools. Be warned, I am going to get a little preachy today. We're going to spend some time in some text. My name is Adam Green, and this is Brilliant Fools, the podcast. Podcast videos or something. I don't know. I'm calling it a podcast because I'm uploading it to Spotify and YouTube as of right now. Maybe it's going other places. I don't know that much about technology, so help me out here, if you will. Like seriously, reach out to me and help me out and be like, hey, you need to do this to get it set up in a better way or whatever. At any rate, today, what I want to talk about is the fallacy of legacy. And what I mean by that is, for instance, the theme of the week about not being afraid to move forward. Yeah, we might make mistakes, but let's move forward anyway, knowing that we already have forgiveness for those mistakes and we have grace to overcome because we move forward in Christ, especially. So doing that in business, but also then setting up businesses to grow in the right way, to be successful according to God's definition of success. And which, by the way, that may look different for each person. For some people, that's going to look like millions of dollars in revenue every year. And then for other people, that's going to be something simple. But God's definition is what we're looking for here, right? But to define this a little bit, let me just give you an example. As I'm going through my feed recently, so you know how you get those, it was either an advertisement or some kind of a reel or something like that. But at any rate, it's a guy sitting at a table and he's got a pile of money in front of him. And he's one of these gurus, these business guru type guys, right? And he starts talking about how he's not going to be remembered for his money. Obviously, he's trying to sell with that, but he's not going to be remembered for it. And he's true. That's very true. But what he is going to be remembered for is going to be the courses that he teaches. I thought, what? What are you talking about? What? You're not going to be remembered for money, but you are going to be remembered for the courses. And I think his point was he's going to be remembered for what he passes on, you know, the legacy that he leaves. He even started using that word, the legacy that he leaves. By the way, that's what he was trying to sell, was these courses he was teaching. And he was talking about that being his legacy. Okay, that's his legacy. But it doesn't take very long in the book of Ecclesiastes to read it. In fact, right at the beginning, it talks about it. Vanity of vanities. Everything's vanity. It's all vain. It all goes away. Everything's going to be forgotten, including people. Like, the likelihood that you will be remembered is so extremely low. There's a bunch of people that are remembered in the world. And it is such a small percentage of all the people that have lived in the world. It's not many at all. And it's just not many. But even those that are remembered, there's a lot of them that are not remembered for good reasons, right? Whether that be Hitler or the Hun, Attila the Hun, or others who, you know, are remembered for violence. Some are remembered for both. King David. Huge mistakes and huge success. But the likelihood of any of us being one of those things is very, very low. So is that a place to be, or a reason to be discouraged? Is that supposed to bring me to a place where I'm just like, well, what's the use then? I'm not going to do it. Now, the point of that, and the whole point Ecclesiastes is making, is let's get our minds and our thoughts off of ourselves. Let's be a part of something bigger. And the way to do that, according to the book from the wisest man who ever lived, King Solomon, the way to do that is to enjoy God and enjoy the life that he's given. Enjoy what he's given us. Have a good time with it. Actually make the most of it. And keep him first and foremost in our minds. Love God, love others, and trust in him, and trust in what he's doing and where he's going. what that does is that puts me in a place where I can be a part of something much, much bigger than myself. Um, and that puts me in a situation where I know there's going to be a lasting legacy because it's not mine. This is something God is building. Like the song says, build your church, right? Build your church, build your church, build it from the ground up. It's your church. It is his church. It's his. That's what Christ said when he was talking to Peter. He said, look, on this rock, I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. That gives me freedom to go out and do and act and know that he's going to be the one empowering that, especially when I am in his purposes. So do I need to be the one remembered? Whenever I'm getting kind of upset about something, like people aren't thinking enough about me, aren't taking me into account. I say whenever, I'm lately, if that's happening, there's this passage that God is bringing to me, and it's about Elijah. This is in 1 Kings. It's 1 Kings 19. And Elijah's coming to God with this same kind of mentality. Woe is me. Everything's going wrong. I'm the only one left. Everybody wants to kill me, and I'm the only one left. And what God responds to him with is, I will leave 7,000 in Israel. All the knees that have not bowed to Baal, every mouth that has not kissed him. I've reserved for myself 7,000. Paul brings this up again in Romans. Elijah says, they killed your prophets. They've broken down your altars. I'm left alone, and they seek my life. And Romans chapter 11, verse 4 says, how does God answer him? God says, I have reserved for myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to Baal. Even so, too, at this present time, there's also a remnant according to the election of grace. And he's talking specifically about Israel here. So these 7,000 men, they all left a legacy, evidently, because they were talked about in 1 Kings. They're talked about again hundreds or thousands of years later. I don't know the exact timeline. I think hundreds of years later, when Paul mentions them in Romans, they're talked about now, which is thousands of years later, as we read it. So they have a legacy, but they aren't named. They aren't named. So all those men, not named, but leaving a legacy, because it is part of what God is doing. So if you want a lasting legacy, a truly lasting legacy, then let's be a part of what God is doing. If we want a truly lasting legacy in our lives and our businesses, then we be a part of what God is doing. And maybe that lasts to the next generation. Maybe that lasts a few generations. Maybe it doesn't, as far as my name is concerned. Maybe 100 years from now, my great-great-grandchildren, children, or whoever, don't even know my name. I'm fine with that. I'm going to be dead. I'm going to be dead. I'm going to be with Christ. That's fine with me. I don't mind if they don't know my name. That's okay. But it's interesting because this passage is one that we quote from all the time. And I know you've heard it before about that still small voice. That's what we need to be listening for out there, is that still small voice of God. I think it's misquoted a lot of times, especially understanding what this passage is saying. Because when we talk about hearing that still small voice, that often still goes back to me. Okay, because I want to hear it, because I want to do this. I want, right? But if you read the passage, 1 King 19, I'm going to read it now. So I've made the point that I want to make, didn't want to bury the lead there. But if you want to stick around for this, then this is the word of God. So this is going to be the most powerful that it's going to be, right? Then he came there to a cave and lodged there. This is Elijah, right? the word of the Lord came to him, and he said to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" Now remember, Elijah's been called out to be God's prophet, right? To go out, to do things. There are other things that are going on, and this is when he's fleeing from Jezebel, and there's lots of stuff that are going on there, right? He's doing good things for God, and now he's having issues because of it, and so he's here in the mountain. And Elijah says to God, he says, "I've been very jealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the sons of Israel have forsaken your covenant, torn down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. And I alone am left, and they seek my life to take it away." So he said, and by the way, all this was definitely true. So God says, "Go, stand on the mountain before the Lord." And behold, the Lord was passing by, and a great and strong wind was rending the mountains, breaking in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound of a gentle blowing, maybe even whisper. Could be interpreted still small voice, but may not have been a voice. But that it's a sound, a small, still sound was there. When Elijah heard it, okay, no more earthquake, no more wind and fire. Now just something still and small. So when Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle. He went out and stood in the entrance of the cave. And behold, a voice came to him. Now the voice comes to him and said again, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" And he said, "I've been very jealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the sons of Israel have forsaken your covenant, torn down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. And I alone am left, and they seek my life to take it away." I don't know that he's complaining like that, but he's definitely looking at himself. We would probably say with good reason, because he is being pursued to be killed. The Lord said to him, "Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus, and when you have arrived, you will anoint Hazael king over Aram, and Jehu the son of Nimshi you will anoint king over Israel, and Elisha the son of Shaphat of Abel-Meholah you shall anoint as prophet in your place. It will come about, the one who escapes from the sword of Hazael, Jehu will put to death, and the one who escapes from the sword of Jehu, Elisha, will put to death. Yet I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him." Understand what I'm not saying here. I'm not saying if you complain about things that God's going to say, "All right, you don't want to do it, I'm going to take somebody else and have them do it." Which almost sounds that way when I read it. Where he said, "Okay, I'll put Elisha in your place," right? And then he takes Elijah after that. But the point here is that Elijah was looking at himself. He was running away, which seems like it should have been okay, because he had just gone and been jealous for the Lord and done what God directed him to do. And now he's facing resistance. And this is the main point that I want to take here. We may go and do the things that we really truly understand we're called to, that God is calling us to do, and we might face some serious resistance in that. But like he told Elijah here, he said, "You are not alone. You may think you are not alone. Go and do what it is that I've called you to do." And he's made the promise. The gates of hell will not prevail. As we go, as we attack, and yes, the gates are there standing, so it's up to us, the church, to go and prevail against the gates of hell. They won't prevail against us, but it might not always be easy. Like in football, the other team has a say too, right? Like in any kind of sport, the other guy has a say. In boxing, the other guy's going to punch too. The other guy's going to block. So it's not going to come without resistance necessarily, but he's given us everything we need to overcome that resistance. And this, I think, is what he's telling Elijah here. He's encouraging him. Say, you are feeling down on your luck. You've been out here for 40 days. Now, I will say he was ministered to. Read the first part of 1 Kings 19. It's really neat how he was ministered to, but he still felt alone, all by himself. There's no one else left. And then God strengthens him and encourages him. So let's go to him. When we're feeling alone, when we're feeling like there's no one else left, or we feel like our legacy is falling apart, or whatever it is, having the hardest time we can in business, or whatever we're doing, maybe our family, it's difficult, whatever's happening with them, whatever it may be, we go to God. He doesn't turn us away and chastise us, but he strengthens us and encourages us and ministers to us and gives us what we need to keep going. And it may not always look the way we think, but he's always got it under control. So let's be a part of what it is that he is doing, what it is that he is building. Instead of me worrying about myself and whether I'm thought about the right way, whether I'm remembered the right way, the fear of man is a snare. But the fear of the Lord produces wisdom. It's the beginning of wisdom. I told you I was going to get preachy. I think I did. And I hope it's actually been an encouragement to you and not a turnoff. But if it has been, I'm going to keep going. And I know I'm going to make mistakes as I go on this thing, but I do truly feel that it is something God has called me to, given me the skills, the ability, the knowledge, and developed in me over the years, and wants me to continue in it. So I will. And I'll let him develop whatever growth and whatever legacy it is, whether my name is mentioned or not. I am just overjoyed to be a part of what he's doing. And I hope you join me in that. I hope you join me in that. Thanks.